Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Camden and welcome back today to another live stream. It is Wednesday. I do just want to apologise before we get into the live stream for the lack of green screen. I'm a little bit busy today, a little bit manic. As some of you may know, I go away to Mexico tomorrow, so I'm running around trying to get everything sorted. Always last minute, of course. So I apologise for there being no green screen. I've just been in a little bit of a rush today, so I want to get on stream as soon as possible. And please do ignore the mess behind me as well. That's basically all of me stuff that I'm taking on holiday with me that needs to go in my hand luggage at least. So please do ignore that one. I do apologise about that. We're here to talk about a couple of transfer rumours that have broke in the last couple of days since the last live stream. Obviously, we ended Monday's live stream talking about the transfer rumour linking Barcelona winger Malcolm to a move to Everton Football Club. We also spoke about a rumour that had literally come out of nowhere on Twitter linking Kevin Morales to a move to Standard Liège and actually seemingly confirming that Kevin Morales had agreed terms with Standard Liège despite the fact that he hadn't. So obviously since Monday, just to recap, we haven't heard anything else about the rumour linking Kevin Morales to Standard Liège. In fact, Liverpool Echo come out the next day and said that Standard Liège have made no contact with Everton over winger Kevin Morales. So I suppose that one was just something that somebody decided to make up, and people sort of jumped on because I think a lot of Evertonians would like to see Kevin Morales leave the club. And of course the Malcolm situation as well. Again, nothing really solid going in terms of that transfer rumour, at least since Monday anyway. There's been another couple of journalists that have come out from nowhere, a couple of Spanish journalists as well, that have come out and said, listen, Barcelona are definitely up for selling Malcolm. They definitely want to move him on. There's a couple of clubs interested. Apparently Arsenal are also interested in the player. Now, like I said, as a player that, turned us down last summer and decided to use us as sort of bait to get a move somewhere else, I'm not too sure whether he'd want to come to Everton over a club like Arsenal, who are in the Europa League at the moment and actually got to a Europa League final last season as well. So we'll have to see how that one develops in the next couple of days, but nothing really solid in terms of either of those rumours since Monday. So I just thought we'd recap on them. Jamie says, new look, looking slick, mate. Yes, I've had my haircut today as well. Let me know what you think about it. I left it long for a few months and I just said to him, listen, I'm going on holiday, so shorten it up a bit. It is quite short, to be honest, but with my hair, it'll grow back in about 3 weeks anyway, so don't be surprised if when I come back from Mexico I look exactly like I did on Monday night. LCFC Boy says, Delph, Leicester also interested in Malcolm. Yeah, we'll talk about Fabian Delph in just a minute. A little bit of a strange one. I want to talk about it quite in depth because it doesn't make sense on a lot of points, but it does make sense as well on some points. So I'll speak about that one in just a second. And LCFC Boy says, Leicester also interested with Malcolm. Yeah, exactly. As a player that Barcelona very clearly want to sell, very clearly want to move on, whether that be a permanent deal or a loan deal, you're going to get a lot of clubs that sort of their heads pop up, and Malcolm will be catching the eye of a lot of Premier League clubs as well as a lot of clubs around Europe, just exactly like he did before he went to Barcelona as well. So again, I'm not taking too much from that one just yet, purely because it is just a rumour at the minute to state that, we're interested in him. But like you said, then there's going to be a lot of clubs interested in Malcolm, so that doesn't mean anything whatsoever. Ian says, come on you Blues. Yes, Ian, come on you Blues. Jamie says, I thought we should have went for Shea Adams from Birmingham. Southampton got a steal here. Yeah, again, another good player that smashed it in the Championship last season. Whether he'd be able to do it in the Premier League is a different question. I suppose that's why a lot of the top sides sort of stayed away from it, and that's why Southampton have gone for it. We've seen players before that have been fantastic in the Championship and then come into the Premier League or got a big money move to the Premier League and not actually lived up to the potential. So it'd be interesting to see how he does at Southampton. Of course, they needed a striker and they've got a decent player on their hands there, in my opinion. If you're enjoying the stream so far, please do leave a like. I'm just going to tweet it out so everybody on Twitter knows that we are live. This is likely to be our last live team, definitely our last live team sat at my desk until I get home from Mexico. Of course, if I can do a little live stream, I'll definitely be doing videos over there. If I can do a little live stream, then I'll try to whilst I'm over there. If there's any breaking news, we sign anybody is obviously sold, then of course I'll be at least providing a video, if not a live stream for that one. But my last live stream in a couple of weeks sat at my desk, of course. So yeah, feels a little bit strange, but like I said, I'll probably come home and you'll see me with a different haircut and a big face tattoo, Mexico 2019. No, I'm only messing. I'm not that stupid. LCFC boy says Tielemans done. Yes, again, fantastic deal for you lot. Absolutely brilliant player. Another deal that we've seen a loan move turn into a permanent. We've had one ourselves with Andre Gomez. Hopefully another one with Kurt Zuman on the way as well. But an absolutely fantastic player. And, you know, you've got yourself a good deal there. CJ says, up the toffees. Yes, CJ, definitely. And Jamie says, how's your Spanish, mate? Absolutely shite, to be honest with you. I can understand brief bits and bobs of Spanish, but I can't speak it whatsoever. And CJ says, rest in peace, desk. Yeah, it's not going nowhere. It's still going to be here, and I'm just not going to be sat at it for a couple of weeks. Anyway, I suppose we'll dive straight in to the news. Like I said, we spoke a little bit about some transfer news on Monday. A couple of other stories have broken since Monday. One that I didn't really expect, and you know, another that I really didn't expect. So we'll talk about the Fabian Delph transfer story first. So this is coming straight from Alan Myers, who, as I'm sure a lot of you know if you follow him on Twitter, used to work at the club, works very closely with Everton, very close relationship with Evertonians. He actually works for Sky Sports News, so anything that he sort of says, you can take it with, you know, a lot of respect, and you can sort of sit there and go, right, okay, you know, I'll take that, you know, as that we're interested in that player. It's not, he's not a journalist that you sort of think, yeah, bullshit, whatever, move on from it, doesn't make sense. He's a journalist that even if it doesn't make sense, you look and you go, well, we must be interested, and that is that apparently Everton are interested. We're one of a number of clubs interested in Manchester City midfielder Fabian Delph. Apparently there is significant interest in the player, and he has 1 year left on his Manchester City contract. So like I said, coming from Alan Myers, a reliable source in my opinion, it's a very interesting one to see. Now in many ways, like I said, Fabian Delph goes against the sort of Marcel Brand's style of bringing players in. You know, obviously he's a little bit older. He's not really involved in the Manchester City setup. He played now and then last season in a defensive role, but in terms of his role as a midfielder, he's never really in that Manchester City side. Obviously coming from Aston Villa, where he played really well. It was the captain of Villa. Everything went on sort of, you know, with that situation. And then, of course, went to Manchester City and had you know, another one of those careers, another player, a bit like a Danny Drinkwater at Chelsea, where, you know, he goes, he's a squad player, he's there because they need a certain amount of English players, and that's it really, and he didn't really have much of an impact elsewhere. Now, I actually think Fabian Delph is a good player. I think he's a good footballer. I think he could do a job for Everton. He wouldn't get in our starting 11, so I'm not really up for the idea of paying him a lot of money, because you would have to pay him a lot of money. You'd have to pay him upwards of £100,000 a week, because he's going to be on a lot more than that at Manchester City. I'm not really up for paying a player that much money for him to only get on the bench. Plus you've got the likes of Tom Davies there and Morgan Schneiderlin there, who are also two midfielders that play in that role that, you know, will inevitably not be in the side next season if, you know, Gomez and Garnegay stay fit. Hopefully Garnegay stays. Now, I didn't really think about Garnegay's future when this rumour got sort of brought to the surface. I didn't really think, well, what does this mean for Garnegay? I'm still very hopeful that Garner will stay for at least another season. I'm very hopeful that he'll sign another contract. But let's take Adissa Garnegay out of the situation. Where would Fabian Delph fit into the Everton setup if he was to sign for the football club? Like I said, for me, I don't think he fits into the starting 11. It's a tricky one to think about, because like I said, you've got Morgan Schneiderlin there, who ended last season fantastically, proved that, you know, he's probably good enough to be in that starting 11. Certainly good enough if you know, Adissa Garnegay or Andre Gomez isn't fit. He's definitely good enough to be, you know, the next option off the bench. Tom Davies, obviously a young player. Marco Silva's going to look to play him a lot more next season. Obviously rejected the loan move for him in January, so again, doesn't really seem like Marco Silva wants to loan Tom Davies out either. So unless Adissa Garnegay's future is up in the air at the minute in terms of at the football club, and Morgan Schneiderlin's come out and said, listen, if I'm not starting, I want to leave, then I struggle to see where the solid link for Fabian Delph is coming from. Like I said, goes against really what Marcel Brands wants, because he's a little bit older. Do I think he could do a job if he needed to? Yes, I do. Obviously, we seen him last season slotting defensively for Manchester City, and I think if Marcel Brands has got the idea of, okay, we can bring a midfielder in here who's got Premier League experience, leadership experience as well, obviously winning a number of trophies at Manchester City, 2 Premier League titles since signing there, so he's got that experience of winning things, and we're going to bring him in to, you know, be back up as a midfield, but also, you know, slot into defensive backup if needed to. Obviously, I think he played left back for a bit last season and the season before for Manchester City. Then you can sort of see where it's coming from, but I still struggle to see why we'd want to bring a player to the football club that would have to pay an awful lot of money, that, you know, would probably have to pay a decent transfer fee for as well, if they're only going to be sitting on the bench for backup. You know, Marcel Brands and Marco Silva, for me, really need to be looking at a centre-half that is going to be in, week out. Obviously, like I said, we've lost Zuma. He's gone back to Chelsea. We don't know what's going to happen with that. We're still awaiting a conversation to happen between Zuma and Frank Lampard. Of course, obviously, letting Phil Jagielka go as well means we're 2 centre-halves short at this moment in time. You know, we're exactly a month away from the start of the Premier League season now, and like I said that at the end of last season, said it in January, and I said it in at the start of the pre-season this season as well. I've got all my faith in Marcel Brands and Marco Silva, but they really do need to get a move on, ideally, for a centre-back. I don't want us to be messing about with Kurt Zuma. I don't want us to be back and forth with Chelsea, because at the end of the day, we're 2 centre-backs light as to what we were last season, and we've really only got Michael Keane and Yerry Mina for centre-back cover, and if one of those gets injured, you're bollocks, really. You're bringing a player through from the under-23s that you don't necessarily know is ready. Now, of course, if Mason Holgate stays, then, you know, it's a different scenario if Marco Silva sees him as a centre-back, but Marco Silva might see Mason Holgate as a right-back, and if he sees him as a centre-back, who have we got cover for right-back, with John Joe Kenny obviously going out on loan to Schalke for next season. So there's questions there. There's definitely questions there, and I think if Fabian Delph is being brought in to be a midfield cover, then you're sort of sitting there thinking, we've got Morgan Schneiderlin at the minute, and we've got Tom Davies at the minute. If Fabian Delph is being brought in to be defensive cover, then you're thinking, well, why don't we just go out and buy a centre-half? Why don't we just go out and buy a right-back that, you know, can play in that position? Don't know whether it's got something to do with the fact he's only got a year left on his contract and he's going to be a little bit of an easy buy, and, you know, he can be a level head, like I said, an experienced head in the dressing room, in the squad, of course. Like I said, listen, he's won pretty much everything there is to win other than the Champions League at Manchester City, so he knows that feeling of winning something. I'm trying to compare him last night in my head, and I don't know whether I should compare him to a little bit like the Gareth Barry signing when we brought Gareth Barry in, or a little bit like the Tom Cleverley signing when we brought Tom Cleverley in, a player that could do a job but isn't necessarily going to get in this team week in, week out like Tom Cleverley, or a player that we sit there initially and think, well, what are we signing him, and he ends up being absolutely brilliant and you know, in the squad every single week. I think the difference is with this situation to the Gareth Barry situation is when we brought Gareth Barry in, we had obviously James McCarthy there as well, and we didn't really necessarily have another midfielder to partner him, so Gareth Barry fit in and he was absolutely fantastic for the first season. Now we really have got 3 midfielders there that I cannot see any player pushing unless we bring in a genuine world-class midfielder, which, let's be honest, Fabian Delph isn't. I don't see Andre Gomez losing his place, and I don't see Idrissa Gana Gueye losing his place, and I don't see Gylfi Sigurdsson losing his place either. So I think it's really, really important to sort of to be thinking about the futures of Idrissa Gana Gueye in this situation, because is Marco Silva and Marcel Brands planning for Idrissa Gana Gueye to leave the club and Fabian Delph to come in and be the replacement? I don't personally think that is the case. I think Idrissa Gana Gueye will stay beyond this summer, because, like I said, PSG, who the team that were massively interested in him in January, have gone out and bought Ander Herrera. They're also, you know, madly interested in 750 other midfielders around the globe. So I don't think Idrissa Gana Gueye will leave the club, and if he doesn't, where does Fabian Delph fit in, and why would we be making this sad? And it's really, really interesting. Let me know your thoughts on that one in the comment section down below as well. It'd be really, really interesting to hear what you guys think about that. LCFC Boy says, how are you feeling for next season? I'm feeling really, really positive, mate. I think we can push the top 6. I said this yesterday. I had a conversation yesterday with, it wasn't yesterday actually, it was today with the barber. He said, you know, how confident are you for next season? Where do you think you'll finish? You know, do you think you'd be able to push the top 6? And I said, listen, mate, I think that we can push the top 6, but I said it all rides on this transfer window, and I'll judge where I think we can finish next season after the transfer window ends, after that transfer door shuts, because we still massively need a striker, we massively need a goal scorer, we still need 2 centre-backs now, we probably need right-back cover, we might need another centre-attacking midfielder, so I will judge where I think we'll finish at the end of the transfer window, because at this moment, with the current climate of the squad, I think, again, 8th and 9th, because we haven't got that striker that we desperately need. We're really lacking on centre-halves. But, you know, that's not to say that by this time next month we'll be looking at Everton squad with a 20-30 goal a season striker in, with 2 centre-halves in, with Kurt Zouma in, and then of course it becomes very, very different. Jamie says Hornby has the potential to be such a powerhouse up front. He definitely does, but again, it's a case of whether Marco Silva believes he is ready yet. LCFC boy says Drinky, yeah, hasn't his career gone down the pan? Jamie says he also played left back for City. Yeah, exactly, that defensive cover that Delph obviously slotted in last season for City. Rowan says, let's be honest, Everton never signing him. I don't know, it's strange. It's, like I said, it's come from Alan Myers, it's come from Sky Sports, so, you know, it's a strange one. It's not one that you sort of look at and go, yeah, whatever, that's a load of shit. I mean, you could look at it and say that, but again, it's not one that's just come up from a random Twitter account with 30 followers saying Everton are interested in Fabian Delph, you know. And again, it doesn't necessarily surprise me that we're interested in a player like Fabian Delph, an experienced midfielder that, you know, could come in and do a job if needed. But I just think we should be looking at other positions that we need players in sort of desperately, rather than another midfielder that, again, we've got Gomez, Gylfi, Garner, and then obviously we've got Morgan Schneiderlin and Tom Davies as well as backup if need be. So unless there's plans for Morgan Schneiderlin and Tom Davies, then I don't know why we'd really be looking at Fabian Delph, at least for midfield cover. Jamie says Alderweireld has a release clause of 20 million. Yeah, again, would he come to Everton? I highly doubt it. Obviously, he's been just played in a Champions League in a team that got to the Champions League final. He's gonna definitely want European football, and he's getting on as well. I think he's 29 years old, so I can't see Marcel Brands going for that one. LCFC boy says, I hear Wesley Morgan is available. You're all right. Thanks, but no thanks. I will happily, thankfully decline that one. CJ says Cuco Martinez right back cover. I think Cuco Martinez won't be an Everton player come the 10th of August. And Sean Jones says, decent sim, that lie. Yes, it is. Thank you very much, and thank you for coming with me as well, Sean. If you're enjoying this team, please do leave a like, subscribe if you're new as well. It really, really does mean a massive amount to me. The next story that I wanted to talk about today is one that interests me a little bit more. One that, although it hasn't come from as solid as a source, I can sort of believe it a little bit more, because this is a position that obviously we need to strengthen in. This is a player that is absolutely fantastic in my opinion, and again, it's very, very, very optimistic by Marcel Brands. It's very optimistic by Marco Silva, and if we genuinely are interested in these players, then I think it's sort of, it confirms the sort of Marcel Brands way of going about things. Marcel Brands come into Everton Football Club last summer, and, you know, famously or infamously, I don't know if you've heard it, but basically he sat down and he said, you know, what do you do about top level players? You know, how do you approach top level players? And somebody within the club, somebody somewhere said, well, we just basically look and we think, well, he'd never come, so we won't approach them. And he basically, Brands turned around and went, well, why? You know, what's the worst that can happen? You get rejected, and I think that is an absolute spot-on way of thinking. And again, this sort of screams that as well. So according to the Telegraph, Everton have expressed an interest in signing Lille forward Nicolas Pepe. So the 24-year-old winger scored 22 goals in 38 games for Lille in the 2018-19 Ligue 1 season and clocked himself 11 assists as well. So it's no doubt that this would be an absolute gem of a signing if we could pull through this one. Now again, it's going to be really, really difficult. Again, he's a player that's going to attract attention from a lot of European clubs, a lot of Champions League clubs, a lot of clubs that are dominating their respective leagues. So will he realistically look at Everton as a potential club for his future? I don't know. We said the same about Luca Dean last season when he said he was more than happy at Barcelona, and then, you know, Marco Silva picked up the phone and that was it, he changed his mind. But again, like I said, very, very, very optimistic, you know, sort of expressive interest by Everton Football Club and by Marcel Brands if this is true. And, you know, you love to see it. Nicolas Pepe could turn around to Brands and go, nah, you're messing, aren't you? You're not in European football. You've not won a trophy in however many years. You're not challenging for Everton. Nah, you're all right. And Brands goes, sweet, I'll go down to the next one. Or Nicolas Pepe might turn around and go, you know what? It'd be easy for me to go into a City, but I'd never get a near team. You know, I'd like to go to an Everton. I'd like a challenge. I'd like to be part of a team that, you know, have got really good young players like Richarlison. I'd like to go, you know, into a team that have got the ambition to break into the Champions League, and that is what is shown with this rumour. If it is to be true, it's very, very ambitious. Like I said, an absolutely fantastic footballer. Obviously a winger, a forward, scoring 22 goals in 38 games for Lille is absolutely fantastic record. He's got bags and bags of potential, a little bit like David Neres. This screams a little bit like the David Neres situation. Very, very ambitious. However, how realistic, I don't know. I'll leave that one with you to decide. But like I said, you love to see the ambition, you love to see the optimism of the football club, and these players could turn around and go no. But what we've seen with the David Neres situation already is that from all accounts, from accounts all over the world, the player seems interested in the move. The player apparently is interested in coming to Everton Football Club. You know, he really gets on with Richarlison over in Brazil, and he's interested in making that move. The only thing that will stall that, and probably stop it, let's be real, is the transfer fee that Ajax are going to want for him. So who's to say that Nicolas Pepe won't be interested in a move to Everton Football Club either? The ambition is very clearly there, and Dennis Barrett-Baxendale came out in the last AGM, the last Everton AGM, and said, listen, we have got the ambition. We want to be challenging for the Champions League and and league titles in future years. And executives have come out with that shite before and said all that shit before, and you see it all over the world, not just at Everton, with executives saying, oh, we've got the ambition this, we've got the ambition that. But I think we've really seen now that Everton do have that ambition. They've brought in a director of football in Marcel Brands who does not piss about. He gets the players he wants to get, and he goes for the players. Even if they turn around and say no, he goes for them, and then he goes down the list. He starts at the best and he goes down the list. He doesn't start at, well, I think this is the level of player that would sign for Everton, so I'll start at them. He starts at, these are fucking unbelievably, world-class Champions League level footballers, and I'll go down the list if they reject them. That's the type of ambition that Dennis Barrett-Baxendale spoke about at the AGM, and that's the type of ambition that we want to see as Evertonians. Nicolas Pepe fits right into that. Obviously, if you bring Nicolas Pepe in, you've got a front three there of Richarlison, Bernard, Pepe, or Richarlison, Pepe, and then a striker as well. A lad that can very clearly score goals in a decent league. Yes, it's not the best league in Europe. Out the top 5 leagues, it probably is the shittest. But again, it's a league with the likes of PSG and playing against defenders like Thiago Silva. So, it shows the ambition that the football club have got. I don't necessarily think Nicolas Pepe will be an Everton player come the end of this summer because, again, it's about the player, it's about the agent, it's about Lille, whether, Everton want to pay the fee that Lille want for him. I read somewhere earlier today that he's apparently valued at over £50 million. Would Marcel Brands want to pay £50 million for him? I don't know. Would the player himself want to sign for Everton? At the end of the day, it all rides on the player. If the player doesn't want to move, then it's done, it's over. So, but again, it shows the ambition, and it's come out obviously of the Telegraph. It might be a load of bollocks, it mightn't be a load of bollocks, but we can only go off what we're reading at the minute. And if we only went off the solid rumours that are coming from the likes of Alan Myers or coming from good sources within the club, then, we wouldn't be having much to talk about on a weekly basis, would we? So, I do genuinely think there's something in this rumour, and I do genuinely think that the club are looking at the likes of Nicolas Pepe, because it's no sort of, it's no coincidence that Nicolas Pepe's names come up, David Neres' names come up, Malcolm's names come up, 3 wingers that are playing for top teams in Europe and, are doing really well and have got a lot of potential and have got a lot of quality. I just think it's too much of a coincidence for those 3 to just be bullshit names. So I genuinely do think the club are interested, but again, like we spoke about recently, we've spoke about in recent weeks, the club being interested in a player and the transfer actually happening, there's a massive gap there that has to be filled. Marcel Brands could turn around to everybody. He could come out in a press conference at Finch Farm and he could sit there and he could say, right, I'm dead interested in signing Messi, Ronaldo and Moise Kean, and everyone might go, oh boss, are we going to sign Messi and Ronaldo? No. Will we sign Moise Kean? Maybe. We'll speak about that one in just a minute. But again, like I said, there's a level, there's a long way to go between being interested in a player and, actually signing the player. There's nothing to say that Everton have lodged a bid for Nicolas Pepe. There's nothing to say that Nicolas Pepe, would like the move. There's nothing to say that Lille would like to sell him either. It's just an interest at the minute, but it's definitely worth speaking about because it shows the ambition of the football club. Guarav says, do you think Everton can finish above Leicester, West Ham and Wolves? I think we'll finish above all 3 of those teams next season. And Guarav says, also, what about the chances of avoiding defeat against Liverpool, at least if not winning the games? Again, I think we'll beat Liverpool next season in at least one of the derbies, but it's really tough to say. It's a Merseyside derby, after the performances we put in against Liverpool last season, to still, come away with only 1 point out of 2 games. It's disappointing. Steve says, Cam, do you think these Fabian Delph rumours are true? These horrible cop-outs, Bascom and Joyce are reporting it, and so is Andy Hunter now. You know what? I do think it's true. But again, it's an interest. It's expressing an interest. It's expressing a significant interest. It's Everton saying, we're interested in a player like Fabian Delph. Now, Marcel Brands might have come out to journalists and said, listen, I'm interested in Fabian Delph because he's got leadership qualities, he's got the experience winning trophies, and he could do a job. Marcel Brands might turn around and go, but he's too old for our setup, he wouldn't get in the midfield, and we need a centre-back and a striker before him, so no chance. but they're only reporting the positive news out of that transfer, if you like. Again, I do genuinely think we are probably interested in him, but I think we're probably interested in 150 other players as well. Doesn't mean that we're going to put a bid in for them. Doesn't mean that we're going to, speak to their agents. Doesn't mean that we're going to sign them either. Grandall Football said, I would love to sign Diego Costa to Everton. Again, really goes against what Marcel Brands wants, and I don't think we'd sign Diego Costa, but we do need a striker that's experienced in the Premier League, and preferably a striker that's a little bit of a major shit house as well, and that's what Diego Costa is. And Grandal Football says, I wouldn't mind Delph, but he shouldn't be a first team player. Great leader, but bang average. Exactly. And we know that. He probably is a leader. He's got a lot of leadership qualities, but he ain't going to get in our starting 11 anytime soon. He just isn't. He's not getting in over Gomez. He's not getting in over Gylfi, and he's not getting in over Garner. Does he get in even over Schneiderlin if there's an injury? Does he get in over Tom Davis? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. Anyway, lastly, I want to move on to talking about Moise Kean, because there's been a few rumours. It started with Everton interested in the Juventus forward. Obviously, there was then a rumour saying that Everton had a £32 million bid rejected from Juventus for him, and now the latest one is that we're interested in signing him on loan. And I dare say that's probably the situation that Juventus will likely consider over selling the player entirely. Again, the first rumour of us, having the bid rejected was apparently because they wanted a buyback clause within the deal for him. So again, really interesting. A top young striker, a striker that, used to playing at a high level. Obviously played alongside the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo last season, played alongside some top players, Paulo Dybala as well, of course. Again, scored, a fair few goals for Juventus last season. Decent striker. Whether he'd be able to do it in the Premier League, I don't know. That, I suppose we'll only find that out if he signs for the club. That's why I believe that a loan move is probably a little bit more sensible for Everton, because we don't know if he'd be able to do it in the Premier League. We don't know how good he'd be. So I dare say Marcel Brands is probably looking at the option of bringing him on loan for a season and then exploring the likelihood of bringing him in on a permanent deal if he sets the league on fire. But he is a striker. Do I necessarily want him to be our number 9 and the striker that we sign? I don't know. It's a strange one, because he's a good young player coming from a decent team, obviously a world-class team, but it's a risk. It really is a risk, because he could come in, not take to the Premier League whatsoever. Obviously, he's very young. His confidence could drop, and that could be it. And if we are relying on him to be that number 9 that we know we desperately need, and his confidence does drop and he doesn't take to the Premier League, then obviously we could be in deep shit going into next season. But again, it's worth talking about. Football Fantasy says, hi mate, hi, I hope you are doing okay. So let me know your thoughts on that one in the comment section down below as well. Like I said, we'll be reporting on that one as it progresses, as well as every other transfer rumour that we've spoken about today. But anyway, that's going to do it for today's live stream. I hope you have enjoyed. If you have, please do leave a like. It really does mean a massive amount to me. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. Like I said, no live stream on Friday because I'll be over in sunny Mexico, but I'll still be providing little updates, even if it's only a couple of minute videos here and there, 2 times a week, or, maybe even 1 a week if I'm, obviously, if there's not much to report on. I'll definitely be, reporting on the latest news and information. So if there's any transfer news, any transfer rumours, any sort of progression in the transfer rumours that were spoken about today, then obviously I'll be talking about them at least via a video on my phone. If not, a live stream if I can get it sorted out on my phone. But anyway, that's going to do it from me. A massive thank you for watching. Please do leave a like if you have enjoyed. Ian says bon voyage and happy holidays. Thank you very much, Ian, and thanks to everybody for getting involved in the live comments as per usual. If you're watching this as a YouTube video afterwards, please leave your comments in the comment section and I'll be replying to those all night as well. As for the desk setup, as for this live stream, as for the big light, as for the nice Boss microphone, I'm quoting somebody, by the way, maybe it's not Boss, I don't know. Obviously I won't be here for another couple of weeks, but like I said, you'll still see me face here and there, and I'll still be on the Twitter account as well. But anyway, that's going to do it for today. A massive thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. We're getting close to 550 subscribers now, so that will mean a massive amount to me. And please hit the like button if you're new, if you've enjoyed the video as well. Sorry, massive thank you for watching. Please do leave a like if you have enjoyed. Thank you to everybody for getting involved in the live comments, and I'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.